Why do we get so bogged down in life concerns that seem to derail our contemplation of what's true?
Okie dokie. Boy, do you come up with them, huh?
Somebody's got to do the dirty work around here.
Yeah. Let's see. Life concerns what's true. I guess let me start with this. I got a few things I could say about that, okay? But and it's very complicated, and okay, that's all I'll say. I got to learn to keep my mouth shut. Let's start with, we don't care about what's true. Okay, so that's the starting point. Now, that's not a starting point people will be able to relate to much, because everybody listening to this, everybody doing this kind of work, it's like, yeah, I care about what's true. I really care about what's true. But do you? All right. Okay. All right. So let's put that on the shelf for the moment. See how good I am at that. You know, let's get back to that. We'll circle around. And let's go to the other side. Let's consider life as a drama, and it's not too hard to consider. I mean, we think it's very, very important, right? We have life. You got your life, and there's so many things, right? There's so many things you do in life. You've got, things to do. You've got to do this thing and that thing and this relationship and that relationship and a job and coming and going and doing. I understand these things. This is life. Yeah? All right. Now, how much is that is necessary actually for life, for living? Very, very, very little. Very, very little. What? No, really, very, very little. I mean, you have to breathe. Okay? That's necessary for life. You got to eat. That's necessary for life. So given that, you don't have food, you got to find the food. Okay, that's necessary for life. But, a little shelter. Okay, that's necessary for life. But that's about it, seriously. And, otherwise you can just, sit in your little grass shack and eat bananas. Probably better done in the tropics. But, and that's it. See, now compare that, which the things that are necessary for life, with all the things you might be involved in, okay? And I will bet you money that there's a huge amount of things you're involved in that aren't just that, right? Like, the work you do. It's probably very complicated because it has, or I don't know what you do, but, it has all kinds of, how do we say? Civilization is built up into a complex, beehive of stuff. And so you've got all these kinds of things you have to do. Okay, cool. You don't have to do them. Say, you do them, you say, but to survive, to make a living. Okay, good, fine. And you do. And you probably have a really nice shelter, and you have really nice food, and, you're not just eating bananas in the grass shack. Right? And, breathing is kind of, everybody does that. That's the easy one. Right? That's kind of like central one. See, but then how about your relationships? And you go home, you have friends, and you go to parties, you have friends over for dinner, whatever. You go, I don't know, you game with your friends, whatever you do, with your friends, recreation, and then there's the drama. Okay, of that. See, now, all of that is also a drama, right? To be clear. So when I use the word drama, yes, there's the soap opera aspect of the drama, which you probably have too, huh? Ever seen a soap opera? I have not. But I hear tell, and, I see like little clips or something here and there in the world. And, it's like, did Bobby screw Vanessa, and is Vanessa cheating on Anthony, and, and did Anthony, whatever, and all these kinds of things, you see. And then there's Lance, who has a business proposal for, Jethro, who is, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, and there's all these things, and you follow it, and you're on the edge of your seat. Okay, so now if that kind of soap opera isn't your cup of tea, okay, now, but before you answer too quickly, take a look at your own life. Okay, it might not seem like a silly soap, but come on, come on. How much of it is drama? How much of it is all these things, feeling emotions about things happening in the social world? Probably quite a bit. Okay, that's fine. And maybe you like other kinds of drama, recreational or scientific, perhaps, or what other people do? Adventures. You like the adventures and things like that. Okay, fine. That's fine. You got all this life stuff. Now, what if sorry, this is just my job, okay? So forgive me. Okay, but what if all that is just a distraction? What? No, it's life. Yeah, I know. It's life. And there's not much else to do, so go ahead and fucking do it. And then you'll die. But, you asked the damn question, about this contemplating the truth stuff. So, what if all that is just a distraction? You say, well, it's a distraction from my contemplations? Well, yeah, sure, but I don't care about that. What? I'm not expecting anybody to be a monk sitting on the mountaintop, contemplating without distraction. Because one, you're not going to do it, because if you're doing it, you couldn't listen to this podcast. See, but this is not what I'm talking about in contemplating the truth. You see? And then when you contemplate, maybe you you take a little evening to contemplate, or maybe you're one of the, brave ones, and you come do a contemplation intensive. Wow, that kicks ass. I'll tell you why. It kicks ass, but let me do that a little later if I don't forget. But, you hold that and I'll get to it. And then you say, well, yeah, I'm contemplating, and my evening contemplation, my morning contemplation, whatever it is you do. And I tend to be distracted. Why? Because you're not doing your life activity. I mean, you are, but you pretend you're not, right? I mean, you're contemplating. You're taking time, to sit down on your little cushion there in front of your little altar with the incense or whatever the fuck you got. Okay, and you're contemplating. Okay, good for you. Now, as you're contemplating, right, what happens? Your mind wanders, doesn't it? Say, and you try to bring it back. Your mind wanders. You bring it back. See, that's the distraction, right? And you say, well, yeah, but sometimes my mind, I can control my mind. It doesn't wander so much, and I'm really focused on trying to grasp what's true or whatever you're working on. Yeah, cool. That's good. That's good. How long does that last? Usually not very long, right? See, and then your mind wanders again, and and you go into some kind of fantasy, and by the end of your contemplation, you're fantasizing about being a yogi in the mountains, with all nature coming to adore you, or something. I don't know what you're up to. But in any case, you. And then the rest of your time you're in life, right? See, but I'm not talking about this kind of contemplation. I'm talking about understanding what the fuck's going on here. In life, with you, see, with everything. Not just those moments when you contemplate it. Those can be useful, because you devote focused time on trying to get at something, which is very hard for you to do when you're riding the subway and working on this problem at work and into a relationship and arguing with your mate and, all those other important things, and shopping for potatoes, all those important things that we do. I mean, seriously, we do those things, See? Those things we do. But I'm postulating here with you that it's a distraction. I'm trying to get at why I'm saying that. You see? But there are things we do. I mean, you can imagine, Gautama Buddha, he still walked, talked, and take a shat, okay? He had to go find food to eat. He went out and he begged for food. I mean, this is life, right? This is like you doing your job. That was his job, begging. See? And then, he gets the food, and he said, so maybe he was a little more capable and maybe spent more time just sitting on his ass. Who knows? Or talking to people from time to time. And for him, it most likely wasn't a distraction. And we'll get to that later, too. Let's put that on the back burner, why that might be the case. But, for the rest of us, it's a distraction. Why do I say that? Okay, here's the kicker. All right, here's the Ralston pain in the ass kicker. When you're not distracted, what happens? Take a look. When you're not distracted, when you don't have like a movie on, when you don't have an adventure, when you're not arguing with your mate, when you're not doing work, when you're not writing this up, when you're not getting things done, etc., what starts to happen? See, now, most of the time you're distracted, right? See, which is to say, most of the time you're involved in all kinds of life stuff, and all of that keeps your mind busy because you have something to do. Right? I got to do this. I got to open the door. I got to get my car. I got to go to this. I got to do this thing. I got to buy the pajama. I got to get, like whatever it is. Oh, I got to get this job done. I got to, whatever. Oh, this relationship. Oh, I got to work this out. Oh, no, I got to talk to Martha, whatever. And all these things, right? You got to do. That keeps you distracted. Whether they're necessary or not is irrelevant. They're not, by the way. None of it is necessary. But, you see, you understand, because we just went through the, banana in the shack thing, right? Okay, none of that stuff is necessary, except breathing. All right. No, am I saying, well, then don't do it? No, I'm not saying that. Pay attention here, okay? I'm not saying that. Don't put words in my mouth. I'm psychically reaching up to the audience. In any case, no. What I'm saying is that it is a distraction. When you're in it, you're distracted, and you think it's very important. You think it's necessary, don't you? Your life is incredibly invested in that stuff, and I understand that. I'm not even asking you to stop it. I'm asking you to recognize it. I'm asking you to recognize what it is. Okay? That's different. All right? Okay. So now what I'm saying is that's a distraction. Why? See, we're going back. So what starts to seep in when you're not distracted like that? When you don't have anything occupying your attention like that. Those, I don't know, whatever. We've gone down this road before. Those silent moments when you're alone, sitting, not doing much, and you got nothing to do. Now, sometimes, you see, if you're overloaded, that just like is whoa, that's great, I got nothing to do. Whoopee, whoopee, whoopee. But the whoopee will go over time, okay? It won't take long if you can maintain that, right? And it's very mundane and lonely. And you start just hanging out with yourself, and there's nothing there but the raw you in this moment, and you don't know what the fuck's going on. You don't know what that is. You don't know who you are. You don't know. Anyway, am I making a valid argument here? You know what I'm saying? You might start to panic. Yeah? Ever done that one? Start to panic. You start, am I worthless? Is life meaningful? Right? I'm missing something in life. All those kinds of shit, right? They start to creep in, don't they? Yeah. They do if you let them. But then again, it's not that hard to be distracted, is it? And I'll bet when that stuff starts to creep in, you immediately jump to something to distract yourself. All right, I appreciate that. But do you see the relationship? You see that relationship? Yeah? And I'm going to go way beyond that relationship, but still, just start there. Right? So, do you see then why, on the one hand, I'm calling it a distraction, you see? Because no matter what we do in life, and seriously, we do a lot. And what we do, and it's not that hard to keep busy, to keep distracted. Yeah. If you're not actively busy with physical life concerns, which not always time, you're going to be mentally busy, aren't you? You know, you're going to be busy doing something, you know, fantasizing, problem solving, you know, something, right? So now, okay. So you don't want that. You don't want that. Let's imagine that, okay? Say, most people don't contemplate so that they confront what I just talked about. They contemplate to get away from what I just talked about. They contemplate to make themselves special and to find some kind of higher purpose or truth or something, you see, that's much better than this mundane, lonely, worthless piece of shit stuff that most people really think they are. You know, that most people are stuck in. You know, maybe not you. But see, and there's all kinds of twists and turns. So if I'm not hitting on the right words that resonate with you, choose your own words, okay? Fill in the blank, right? So, you know, put yourself into solitary confinement. See what comes up, okay? You know, and then, you know, fill in your own words there. See, but what I'm saying is like, that's not what people want when they contemplate, usually, right? In any case, and I have said in the past that I think this is a very valuable place to be in your contemplations because it really hits home and you're not avoiding that aspect because it's an important aspect. See, but it's only one aspect. Now, when I say it's only one aspect, I'm not I'm not trying to what do you call that? Underplay it, you know, play it down?
Downplay.
Downplay it, whatever, yeah. See, I'm saying in the universe, okay, the ultimate, the reality of existence, that's just a social matter. See, just a social matter. Right. Again, social matter is all important to us. We are social creatures. You know, it's like your worth, what's missing, all that shit is social. It really is. I understand. You think it's, how do I say this? Okay. You think of yourself as an individual, not true, and you think that you are somehow existing in the universe as an entity floating around in space and you happen to inhabit a body. Not true either. Okay? None of that is true. All right, but hey, I just said none of that's true. Come on, you don't have to believe me. Check it out. Okay? But that's a different workshop. See, in any case, see, and this one that you think you are floating around in space, independent entity that's kind of ethereal, etc., you think that is, you have some doubts about it. You know, you really don't know, you know, if you are worthy, if you are complete, and all this kind of stuff, right? So anyway, and that's actually a social matter. It's not an existential matter. You think it is, but it's not. You see, you think your very existence is founded on that stuff, but it isn't. Your very existence isn't founded on any of that. I mean, your experience of yourself is. Your experience of your life is. Your experience of, like, you know, who you are in the conventional self and all that is. Okay, founded on that. But I'm saying your existence isn't, and that's because it's a different matter. You usually don't know what your existence is all about in any case. So, now, you could also, I mean, let's go down a different road, okay? Let's say a different track here. Can you learn stuff? Yeah, you can. I mean, I've spent a lifetime learning stuff. Yeah? I spent decades and decades mastering certain domains. You know, making breakthroughs, having realizations. You know, I mean, even just the scientific domain. You can spend decades and decades, you know, studying, you know, physics, chemistry, biology, psychology, whatever, you know. So you could immerse yourself in those worlds. I mean, you can. Seriously. You can spend a whole life doing just one thing like that, you know, one subject matter. Or you can, you know, question, meditate, you know, you could, you know, study your mind, what's it doing, you know. You could try to grasp, you know, what language is, what humanity is. You see, you could do that. You could, the possibilities are endless. And no matter how many things you make breakthroughs, how many things you study, how many subjects you master, how many, etc., it doesn't end. I'm not saying don't do it. It's a great distraction. Okay? I mean, it's a lot better than most of the drama that we live. All right? Because in truth, although your motivation and stuff like that may not be confined to social concerns, the truth about that is it's not social. So even though a great deal of what you might study is, what do I mean by that? Well, you can imagine, chemistry is not social. Now, clearly, all the world around chemistry and, teachers and studying and books, that's all social, right? And then talking to people and going through stuff, and that's all social. But the chemistry itself is not. The physics itself is not. Say, understanding what language is itself is not, even though language is completely socially based. It doesn't exist except for a social context, without which there is no language. You following me there a little bit? If not, do more workshops. Okay, or I don't know, read more. I don't know. What have I done? Read more books. I've talked about this stuff. So in any case, so the thing itself, the study itself, is not restricted to social, and that's kind of what a relief it is. And so it's a different kind of distraction. Okay? And in a sense, it's a better distraction because it's not involved in all these loops of social drama. All right? It takes you out and it creates a study distraction of questioning this subject, that subject, the other subject, the other subject, the other subject, the other subject. Okay, great. And if you think you'll be able to do all that and finish it, maybe you could get to the end of one subject that humanity has, stopped or stalled out in and start going beyond that. Cool. That's great. Maybe you can contribute something to humanity. But if you're going to do every subject that could exist, you can't. What am I saying? I'm saying it's infinite. There is no end to the subjects you can address because you can always create more. And you will always create more. I guarantee you, if you did every subject humanity has ever embraced over millennia, and you mastered them all, and that would be a lot to have on your hands. Talk about a distraction, okay? That'd be like, still, by the time you get to the end, you will have invented more subjects to question. That's a different story, and I'll just leave that as it is. You can ponder that. But in any case, I'm saying there is no end to that, which is to say there is no end to distractions. There's always more creativity. There's always more learning. There's always more. See, we live in a world where we think everything's kind of finite and we can get to the end of it. We could finally resolve this stuff. No, you can't. Okay? I'm sorry. Do it. Try. It's okay. I'm not trying to, cramp your style here. All right? That's kind of like what life's about. You got to participate in it. Eat the apple. But just, be prepared. You're going to get kicked out of the Garden of Eden. But in any case, so I'm making a distinction. You see me kind of all this questioning and stuff which transforms your life in a different way. You see? And then all the, kind of drama that we enter into that we call life. Okay? So, when we question it, we enter a different thing, but both are distractions when it comes to the truth. All right? Now, you can say, well, why don't you just help us with life, Why? Well, because I want to live better and be happy and get free. Okay. All right. I support you in that. But it's not my job. Yes, sir.
And or I think it's like isn't that what the truth is for? Or isn't that the way to go when I get the truth is to make me better?
No, absolutely not. The truth is not for that. Why would you make the truth whore to your desires to be better? I mean, seriously. Huh? Say, what, the truth will set you free? If the truth sets you free, what does it set you free of? You. I mean, really? Yeah, seriously. You. And this is not what you want. Okay? So in any case, yeah, we could do that. We could do that. I've done a lot of stuff in that domain, right? Being effective, mastery, whatever, ending suffering, blah, 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 right? How to be better. Okay, good. See? I've worked on contributing that for people. Why not? While they're living life and the stuff. Okay, that's good. Might as well. See, and the truth, see, if you want to have like the power of it, the truth, how do we say, helps one discover all that, right? Helped me, for example. How do I know what's effective? By being conscious of what's true and then delving into what is actually occurring, how's it, etc., blah, 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 the facts, the principles, and all that. And the dynamics, you see, and being not unbiased. That's kind of that study I was talking about before, you see, and then discovering, these are principles involved here. There are dynamics involved here. See, this is non-random, We've invented this world, and we can discover what it is that we've invented. You see, and then be more effective and more efficient at it, right? Cool. But that's not my job, or if it was, it's not anymore. Okay? So get used to it. Okay? Yes, sir.
And/or come to an apprenticeship program. That's where some of that stuff happens.
Yeah, that's where some of that stuff happens, okay? But now, you've heard me say that both the questioning and the drama of life are distractions. See, so I'm talking about a kind of a bigger issue because you asked about the damn truth, okay? Contemplating truth, right? So now, if you entertain the idea that all of life is a drama, not something to end, I mean, I like watching a nice movie or something, right? A little program, a little drama, entertainment. Yeah. Especially if it's a comedy. See, it's entertainment. Okay, cool. But it's a drama, see? And I'm saying a distraction and then questioning and stuff and profound things, mastery. Hey, didn't I talk about mastery a little while ago? Yeah, I did. Yeah, so it's out there in the ether somewhere. Okay, anyway, what a great distraction, because it requires your whole being, your thinking, your feeling, your physical actions, day to day, day in, day out. It requires something that most people are not willing to give. So it really just sucks up your life, your energy, and your creativity, right? Great distraction. See, and then with the mastery, something about the truth has to enter in there somewhere. Otherwise, it's not going to be mastery or masterful. You see, it has to enter in there somewhere, but that's a tricky subject I won't go into right now. But I'm just saying, see, I'm being very radical here. I'm calling everything a distraction, okay? Because I'm saying everything is a distraction. Everything in your experience, everything in your life, everything in your mind, everything in your feeling, everything in your emotions, everything in your perception, say, everything in your actions, your behavior, etc., all of it a distraction if we're talking about contemplating the truth. How could it not be? I mean, seriously, do you think all that's true? Well, yeah, of course you do, but it's not. Okay. I mean, you think That, what you perceive as reality, you think your social life and drama and work, like that is true? No, it's occurring. You say, well, it's true because it's occurring. Okay. See, but it's occurring, but it's not the truth. In other words, it's not the real nature of existence or reality. It's not the absolute nature of existence that one might be going for if they're contemplating was true. You see? So again, and I've repeated this quite a few times because I understand how human minds work. I'm not asking you to give any of that up. I'm not asking you to change anything. I'm just asking you to see that it's a distraction. See, so you're contemplating. Are you going to be distracted? Yes. Right? The contemplation itself will be a distraction. What? No. How you go about contemplating, what you think contemplating is, right? What you do, and then what your mind does with it, and the fantasies that start creeping up when you're fantasizing, all that's a distraction. See, and you call it contemplating. I don't care what you do, and maybe you're really good at it, and good for you, okay? And you sit and you think of nothing. I don't care. You look at a wall, great. Say, or you feel your body. You try to get equanimous, or I don't know. You try to follow a thought bubble back to its origins. I'm just grabbing different. That's transcendental shit. But anyway, just see. No matter what you do, it itself is a distraction, because in this, what I'm talking about, you want to go for the truth. And the truth has to be what it is. And what it is really beyond belief. Okay. Okay. I don't want to go down trying to tell you what's true. Okay. All right. That's not going to help. All right. That's just going to create more fantasies, more bullshit, more ideas and stuff like that. That's not going to help. I mean, sorry, I do that from time to time, but hey, that's my sin. Don't take it on. Throttle me. Okay. So you see that there's no way out. It's hopeless. Okay. That's should be part of your takeaway here. Right? See, there's no way out. There's nothing you can do. See, to actually get to the truth in the world of doing things. Okay? In the world of distractions. And that's all the world you got. Okay? That's all we got. Is the thinking, the feeling, the doing, the contemplating, the whatever it is, you see. The pondering, the listening to podcasts, you see, to reading books, whatever it is. See, that's what the world of stuff we do, and I appreciate that. And that's not going to change. I mean, it could change, but it's the fact of it's not going to change unless you die. Then it'll be pretty dramatic. Okay? But you see, the fact of it, you're going to keep doing stuff. You're going to keep breathing. You see? You're going to keep not understanding what your body is. What? That was out of the blue? Because you see, you contemplate it, but you don't contemplate your body. Maybe some. And then when you're contemplating your body, you're probably just trying to feel your body. It's a good thing to do. But that's not what I'm talking about here when we're talking about what's true. Okay. See, and what I'm saying is there's nothing, because you are in life. You're doing things. You're thinking things. You're feeling things. You see, you don't know what stuff is. You don't know what a wall is. You don't know what your body is. You don't know what a mind is. You don't know what a self is. I'm just guessing. Okay, that you don't know these things. It's really, 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 really common for people not to know these things, and I'm lumping you. You're probably really special. And you know everything, but, just lumping you in with all those other mediocre people who don't know shit. Okay. See, and then you're existing in a world, and I'm saying here, what I'm trying to say here, and maybe not doing it very well, is there is nothing in this world that can get you there. You just have to be there. And you see the there, so to speak, you can't do with distraction. You can't do with drama. You can't do with contemplation. You just can't do it. Say contemplation may be your best shot, but who knows? Some people think drugs are their best shot. They're wrong. All right? But don't get me started. All right. So in any case, some people think, maybe living life. Maybe living life, we'll evolve. We'll evolve and basically all be enlightened. Why? What evidence do you have? Well, because look how advanced we are. We used to be primitive. Yeah, we used to be happy. Okay. I'm not saying it, there's not evolution. I am saying it's not getting better. It's like you're not getting more enlightened. You're just getting more complicated. All right? Take a look. More and more complicated. Cool. That's really fun. But then you got more distractions, more complicated distractions. Yeah? At least in primitive days, you didn't have that many distractions, right? You run from the tiger and you eat the apple and that's about it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you hang with the tribe. There's not much to do. And so your contemplation is probably much better than it is now. It's like, if you contemplate it, And I suspect some people did. We don't know them though, but because they just died. Didn't even have language, so they couldn't tell anybody about it. But in any case, anyway, so you see the rub, you see the challenge. What I'm trying to point to. So when you ask, why do we get bogged down in life? And stuff, well, it's the only thing to get bogged down in. That's what life's about. You're going to get bogged down in shit. It's just not the truth, the ultimate or absolute truth. I hate saying those kinds of things. That kind of makes it weird, So I just like to say, it's not found there. That's all. It is not separate from any of that stuff. You're just completely ignorant. Inside all that stuff, inside all of the drama, no matter what it is. You understand? Remember, I lumped contemplation, I lumped questioning, I lumped learning, I lumped all that stuff in with the distraction that you're not going to find the truth within. Well, that was a labored sentence, but in any case, you see what I'm saying? Am I saying all things are the same? No. There are things that are more effective and efficient than others. There are things that are even more freeing, than others. There are things that would, like, say, more satisfactory than others. Things that, create depression far more than other things that create happiness. Blah blah blah. Those all exist, but they're not the truth. They're what's occurring, and in what's occurring, life. Let's just call it kind of life, right? Life. Yeah, you're not going to find the truth there. But the truth will set you free. Of what? Life. Every drama, okay? Every distraction, every reality. It's going to make you better? No. Free is not better. Free is free. You follow me a little bit here? See, then we got this idea. So, okay, like we were talking a moment ago about like evolution, right? And then I hear Buddha would tell a story that says, well, if we're going to use nature or evolution to become enlightened, completely enlightened, right? It's like sort of an evolutionary process. He said, yeah, sure. That's kind of like, no, follow this. That's kind of like a bird with a handkerchief in his mouth, flying over the top of the Himalayas. And as he's flying over the top of the mountain peak, the top of the mountain, right, he brushes the mountain with the handkerchief. And he does that once a year, right? So he flies over the Himalayas once a year, brushing the top. He says, well, about the amount of time it's going to take for him to wear down the whole mountain to the bottom is about the amount of time it's going to take for you to get enlightened that way. All right. I think what he's saying is it ain't going to happen. All right. Maybe he's encouraging you to get that pigeon out there, flying over with the handkerchief. Okay. But you're not going to see the end of that. Right? I mean, how many lifetimes would it take? Zillions and zillions of lifetimes. And then when you get to the bottom there, it still ain't going to do it. Okay, you're just. But anyway, he's just saying, right? And I would add to that. No, self-survival prevents that in any case. You see, this whole stuff, life that I was talking about, that's self-survival. You see, all that stuff that I was talking about. You can do it better, you can do it worse, etc. I'm just saying that's the activity. That's self-survival, and that precludes grasping the truth, even without the damn bird. Or even with the bird. Yeah, I guess I forget myself. But in any case. So, there you got. I think I've been clear. So anything else? Yes, sir?
Why do sea eyes kick ass?
Ah, there you go.
And something about Buddha.
Oh, Buddha. Yeah, Buddha.
Oh, you had me put that on a shelf, so here it is.
Okay.
The shelf speaketh.
Okay, the shelf speaketh. Okay, okay. Remember we were talking about, contemplation and stuff and how you get distracted and all that, right? And all of life is a distraction. The reason CI, that's a contemplation intensive. The reason intensive, right? You're in there for days and days contemplating, right? The reason it kicks ass is because over time the distractions become less and less and less and less, even in your own mind. Okay? See? Because you can't do this, or probably won't. Well, maybe you can. But I'm not encouraging you to do this.
It hurts.
Yeah, that's just stupid. Okay, it's like to try to be distracted the whole time. That's stupid. But if you're working on your real contemplation, you're really trying to, solve your problem. And in a few days, you become more and more and more present. See, because there are many, many thousands of seconds in a day, and you're contemplating every second of the day, and you're working on it, you're staying with it, right? And that changes, it shifts your mind so that distractions start to go away. And all of your normal social stuff also starts to fall away. I'm not saying that you become antisocial. I'm just saying that stuff starts to go into the background because you have bigger fish to fry, so to speak. See, and then as you become more and more present over the days, you see, a shift takes place and the distractions really immensely start to fall away. And when you're present, you're in the best place to grasp what's true. Okay, so that's why contemplation's intensive, kick ass. All right, because you're devoting far more time than you ever would in life. Even if you contemplate, etc. like that, far more time than you do normally. Okay, and our contemplations, for example, tend not to be filled with fantasy and mythology and stuff like some, like Zen things do, or they're usually kind of filled with the belief system and, mythology of how it's all going to come about, and then your mind is filled with those, and they're distractions. But still, a good sesshin or vipassana is good for you because it does help you get more and more present, despite the fantasies and the belief systems. You see, and so you can make breakthroughs and stuff like that. It's good for you. See, but without those things too, and if you come here with a belief system, shame on you. Okay, don't bring that shit into my dojo. You leave it outside. Wipe your feet when you come in. Anyway, that's why CIs kick ass. Now, what was the other thing about the Buddha? What was I saying? I don't remember. Come on, one of us has to pay attention. Anyway, maybe I said it. Oh, about him not being distracted, right? Right, because life, like I said, I think I said it. See, life is going to occur, and he was alive. See, he had a body. The body was occurring. The body created a self. Blah blah blah, and then he got, complete enlightenment. Zoomy zap, and then see, but he's not going to say, okay, I'm going to disappear into a ball of light. Which is kind of weird. It's kind of weird things. Like I said, when I came back from a 2-week, the first 2-week intensive, right, and I grasped what existence is, the nature of actual existence, and myself was involved in that. And when I came home, like I said, there was a mirror in the hallway, whatever, and I was shocked when I saw myself. And the reason I was shocked, because without thinking about it, I shouldn't have existed. I shouldn't have been there, and I certainly shouldn't have been this dense thing, full of history that I was looking right in the mirror. It's like, holy shit, why are you still here? It's like, holy cow, So it was actually kind of shocking, the system. But hey, more work to do. But in any case, you see, so what's going to occur? Like I said, he's going to walk and shit and do stuff until he dies. And then he died, finally, like everybody else. But while he was alive, we can postulate he really wasn't stuck in the drama. You understand? It's not that he didn't act it out. He probably didn't act it out much. He was probably a lot more like in the grass shack eating bananas. Indian style, whatever they do, okay, say, like that, and then talking to people, because apparently a lot of people gathered around and wanted to know shit, So what's he gonna do? Yeah. In any case, see, but he wasn't part of the drama. He didn't act it out. He knew he was not in it. It was not real, and then he tried to help people grasp that it wasn't real. And did the best he could, say. But unfortunately, for us, they didn't record it. They didn't videotape it. He wasn't on podcast. He didn't take movies. Wish they did, huh? And they didn't even write it down, the dumb fucks. Okay? It's like, come on, or give him a pen and paper. Could you write this down? I have no idea what he did. He said, like, fuck this shit, and because he wouldn't care, but still. So you see what I'm saying? It's like it didn't end it. It continued. He just didn't care. It's like they talk about Ramana, and I don't. Okay, yeah, what the hell? Like Ramana, and he gets this big enlightenment and everything, and then he's sitting in a place by himself, being eaten by bugs. Did not care. Didn't care to eat or do anything. Okay? So we can imagine it's a little different, right, than most of us. See, and then they dragged his ass out of there, kicking and screaming. I have no idea. But, they forced him to teach. He obviously didn't have any impulse to teach. See? He was happy in the crypt or whatever, where the thing, the little temple, whatever. And then they forced him to teach. So he did. Yeah, okay. He just said, get who you are and leave me alone. But they didn't, so he spent his life, okay, you guys, come on. At least bring me some food, huh? I haven't had tacos in a while. I live in India. Come on. Give me some tacos here, huh? Something useful. Okay. But in any case, so, we can see that, he, in likelihood, right, in our kind of imagination about that, he wasn't really caught up in the drama. He wasn't caught up in any of the drama, including the contemplation part. See? It didn't exist, period. None of this existed in a sense. I don't want to go into detail or to try to convey that. If you want me to give you a shot, to give it a shot at trying to convey that, do the TLD and the ACW, and the new workshop is the ACW. Okay, I'm going to give it a shot. All right, I will very likely fail. Okay, I'm just telling you. I understand these things, but I'm going to give it a shot. All right. So if you want to join me while I give it a shot, come do that. All right. But this will probably be out well after that. But anyway, so how are we doing? We good? Yeah, that's enough. Okay, good. There is enough. So thank you and good night.